Good morning, everyone. Max, ciao.
Hi.
How are you?
Oh, I'm well. I'm a little bit nervous, but everything okay.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
Okay, that's good.
You have marvelous. What are there? Mock-ups behind of you. Colorful.
Yes, it's the old mobile from my grandmother. Yeah.
Wow.
Lovely.
Amazing.
Game.
Hi guys,
Ciao, how are you?
nice to meet you.
Likewise.
Likewise. Hi.
I'm Max.
Where are you? In Paris?
No, I'm in Stockholm right now.
You're in Stockholm. Cool.
Yeah.
So
I live in-
today, you live there?
Yeah.
Yeah. Ciao, Lucia.
Ciao,
Ciao. Lovely to see you. How are you?
I'm very well. I'm in Bergamo this weekend, so
Oh,
very
nice.
happy.
Nice. We are in Milano. Actually, we just visited the exhibition of Enzo Mari at the Triennale, a beautiful one, and we are profiting from this beautiful garden and nice weather out. So it's not that bad actually. Good. Okay. We wait maybe a couple of minutes. And Guillaume, Carlos is also there. You think?
Yeah, I'm in contact with him. He's trying to connect to the Zoom meeting.
Okay. So we wait. No worry.
Hopefully he will join.
Good. So I don't know if you know each other, guys, already, but I think
No, actually.
I think by coincidence today it's really a kind of celebrating drawings days. So it's nice to connect you two. So Guillaume with Otto and Lucia as well. I think it's a nice triptych. So we are very much looking forward to listen to you. And yeah.
Yeah, it will be a very colorful talk today.
Yeah, I think so. I think so.
I hope so. And I really like the fact that we don't know each other.
That's good.
It's the kind of way we proceed when we meet architects that we might publish, and we have this kind of informal talks just like today on Zoom, and
No,
we
that's good.
discover each other. And I think it's great that it's completely like that.
Yes, kind of a messy random stuff, but in the end it's something nice, we have to say. So we are also enjoying very much those sessions, and it's going to be a long summer. And I mean, really we were amazed by the huge contribution, let's say, or the huge number of people that said yes. So it's really going to be something. So we are delighted by that, and we thank you again for that.
Thank you for organizing all that. I'm very happy to be part of that.
Oh, thank you.
That's great. That's great. I mean, it was pretty something in the very beginning to try to manage and shuffle around all these dates, but in the end, it seems it's going okay. So let's see. And we shouldn't have confusion even in the next appointment. So everything looks kind of set it up, and it's good that it's like that. And yeah, no, I mean, if you we could start, I would say, because today we will begin with Guillaume, if you don't mind. I mean, we will begin with Lucia today, so that Carlos has time to join.
Yeah, exactly. But we were supposed to be second.
Exactly,
right?
exactly. And
hopefully we'll join. I
Yeah.
think there's a problem with update of the program. It's always someone, right?
Yeah, but don't worry. No, I mean, we just want to thank you again, the four of you actually, to join these small interviews series, which is which goes under the title of Life of the Others. And we are curious to listen to the other's life. And that's the format that we want to deal with. During the first interview, Rocco Vitali told us that this kind of format was like watching the soccer European championship during the summer. So it's kind of a funny thing to say, and we are delighted today to have German, actually half France and half Sweden, Spain and Italy. We think it's kind of good classic. So I mean, we introduce Lucia as a first. She will talk as first, and then as was said in the beginning, Guillaume and Carlos will go second, and Max Otto will conclude the session. And Lucia Amaddeo, she's an architect and she's as well a food designer. And she came from Italy. She's nowadays based in Zurich, where she lives and works. She studied both in Mendrisio and in the TU Delft architecture, and then she took also a master in food design in the SPD in Milano. So she is going to be part of the next FakeAuthentic exhibition in next September in Milano. And Lucia, we don't want to say too much. We just leave you the word, and we thank you for taking part in this series of lectures, and our pleasure to have you. So it's on you.
Thank you. I will share my screen then.
Perfect. Yeah, I just have to allow you. Sorry. Yeah, there you go.
Do you see my screen now?
We do.
Okay. So good morning, everyone. First, I wanted to thank Luca and Stefania once again for organizing this series of chats together. I feel very honored to be part of this group of creatives, architects and artists, and all the lectures that I listened so far are extremely amazing. Maybe as I make a small introduction about myself. I graduated, as you said, in Mendrisio, and after 3 months travel in Brazil, I moved to Belgium, where I worked for a wonderful practice at the VVT. Then I moved back to Bergamo, my hometown, where I did a second master in food design. I set up my practice as an architect, and where I worked as an apprentice for an artisan engraver. Then I moved to Berlin and finally to Zurich, when I've been living for a couple of years now. If with architecture, I proceed a bit by leaps and bounds before finding a place to finally settle, one thing that has always accompanied me since I can remember is drawing. I'm always drawing. I keep drawing. When I'm not sure what I have to do, I draw. And when I think I'm much better at drawing, then I talk it. So hopefully this chat will go well. That is why I also decided to interpret today's 5 themes through the lens of drawing. Let's go to the first topic, fake. This is a sketch done by Lina Bobardi, and it's an ode to Lina's love for drawing. Drawing is a powerful, creative, nonverbal means of communication. Through sketches, one can express in silence what cannot be articulated with words. Lina Bobardi never claimed her drawings as work of art, but she used them to observe, imagine, and understand and transform reality. It was a way to idealize a better world in which to live in, a fake world somehow, where to picture love, joy, and humanity, a sort of invented naive realism. With a drawing, one can imagine possible worlds and probable future. One can hide small details to be discovered halfway between dreams and reality. It is certainly a fake and unrealistic world, naive and dreamy, but it's often much better than the real world. That is why if we understand drawing as a tool for us architects, we should use it as a warning to never lose that dreamy and naive approach to the project. The second topic, authentic. Of course, drawings, even though this is a painting from Hopper, but for me, everything is a drawing. So drawings can be the visual testimony to someone's specific vision of culture and society. They can be very analytical, precise, and authentic, of course, but always through the lenses of someone personally. They are never completely free or independent. That's why drawings can never be completely trusted, because they're always the personal interpretation of somebody's vision. but they are somehow always true and authentic to that specific person and vision. When a drawing tells a story, even though that story is a fake, and tell a story in a very analytical, narrative way, that story becomes authentic, becomes a collection of objects of memory through images, memories that we haven't necessarily lived, but that we start considering as authentic and believing. With iconic, I have much more difficulty with this concept, because in a society so permeated by images and in which we are constantly bombarded with images, I no longer know what iconic means. Iconic can be very pop, very fashionable even, but it's also something that remains forever. And all the images that I've shown so far are iconic, or certainly the people who made them are iconic. So in this uncertainty of the term, I've chosen to give this aura of iconic grandeur to the action of the design itself, and to engraving as the representation of icons. So engraving is something that I've been doing in the past 5 years, helping these artists. And because also when the whole process of actually making an engraving is so hard, it can only become iconic. The project behind an engraving is much more elaborate than a drawing. It's not instinctual. Maybe the sketch you make of the engraving is something instinctive, but that everything becomes complicated, elaborate, and also very dirty when it comes to printing. You first sketch, then you mirror your sketch, use acid to leave a mark on your piece of copper, and then you print. This is a lithograph by Ferroni. It looks like a very delicate drawing, but in reality, there is a monstrosity of work behind it. I choose engraving to be associated with the term iconic because, and I say this in a very personal way, without engraving, I could never have been an architect or even draw. Engraving is something strange. It's noisy, it's smelly, it's dirty, and even a little bit dangerous, but it's an extraordinary tool for designing and fantasizing. Now we go back to drawing, and this one is done by Michele De Lucchi, who wrote this wonderful book titled Racconti con casette, so stories with little houses. That was given to me in my last year of high school by one of my former professor, my drawing teacher. In this book, he says that these little houses are not real houses, and they're not even projects to be realized. They're not even symbolic or evocative models. But he says they're pretext for writing stories, small as little as houses too. Over the years, says De Lucchi, he has realized that many projects, many things made were just bad. And so while he waits to write about his bad projects, he writes the stories of these 12 little houses. Why I picked this drawing and book to talk about ironic? Humor indicates for the Italian dramatist Pirandello the sentiment of the opposite. In other words, it implies the co-presence of reflection and feeling. Humor moves to laugh, but it's somehow a bitter laugh. The 12 houses of De Lucchi exist only on paper or on wood, and life will never happen inside. It's almost an oxymoron that makes us reflect on the continuous and daily confrontation that an architect undergoes with forces such as time, space, fashion, trends, clients, and his own ego. Now we go to the most difficult topic, the altogether topic, the summary of all topics, authentic, ironic, and iconic, and fake ironic. It sounds like a tongue twister. And above all, why do we still draw in the end? Everything is so ephemeral in drawing. The paper flakes, burns, and flies away. Nothing is iconic, nothing is authentic in the end, nothing is real in a drawing. Everything is about an abstraction. Everything is simply a trace on a paper, a memory. I think the whole point of why I draw is really to leave a trace. Even when I'm not drawing, I look for traces in things to understand their age, their history, like where they come from. A bit like in this drawing from Sozzas in his Esercizio Formale. There is a story, there is an interpretation of the story, there is a vision of reality, but also a transposition of the same reality in a world of textures, marks, and surfaces. It is the description of an hidden world visible only to Sozzas, and I think that this is the freedom intrinsic to drawing, the freedom to be able to fantasize, to imagine, to idealize a better world in which to live in, to draw essentially nothing and everything together. And now we go to my project, Foto dalla Finestra. The project I proposed at the end of 2019 had to be readjusted in content, especially to the current pandemic situation. I wanted to reflect on tourism in Italian cities, and it felt completely out of context and not so ironic anymore. After months without really knowing what I wanted to do and where I was in a bit of a creative blank, I started to make a series of drawings, a quarantine series that is an ode to home, like the shelter that we all had in this month. These are the drawings that summarize this months of isolation, spent working from home and spent observing everything through the window. A window that has often become a call, a Zoom chat, a story on Instagram, a way to peek into each other's lives and to feel a little bit closer to each other. Foto dalla finestra is a series of drawings clearly inspired by Sotsam column Foto dal finestrino, and it's a series of drawings through windows. And now I'll let you peek through the keyhole of a few of these drawings. This will be one of the drawing, like one portion of the drawing that I wanted to present is a shot taken in Umbria. This one in Bergamo, my hometown, at the beginning of the pandemic. And the last one in Rome, actually recently. A glimpse of normality that goes back into our life. And thank you very much.
We thank you. Thank you, Lucia. It's nice to hear you. And I mean, I think we are all very much looking forward to see your, not just a slice of the drawing, but the entire one. Even if the slice, it's already very beautiful and promising. And we are very much looking forward to see the completeness. Probably you hear some noise. It's our small daughter who is behind us, and she's running around as a mad butterfly. But I marked down some words that are very much present in your work. I would say like traces, naivety, and dreamy, and ephemeral, and abstraction. To me, are all things that we see in the drawings you propose, and we are curious to see even more and more and more. That's why I mean I'm very much looking forward to that, and I would love to have even more than 12. You told us it's 12. That's
Let's do the winner.
yeah.
I'll do my best then.
But yeah, thank you very much, Lucia.
Thank you.
Okay. And now we welcome our second guest. I see also Carlos is there. So, ciao, Carlos. Nice to meet
How are
you.
you?
Hi.
I'm very well.
Nice to meet you. Can you hear me properly now?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. Now we
Perfect.
have the pleasure to host Guillaume Dubois from the DESPLANS AMArchitectrue and Carlos Gonzalvo Salas. Guillaume introduce us Carlos, and we think it's a great idea to have the two together. Guillaume is founder in 2015 of DESPLANS AMArchitectrue, was actually a kind of incredible factory, let's say, of discoveries of nice drawings, photos and collages and sketches from former famous, non-famous architects. So they bring around Europe and they commercialize beautiful drawings and beautiful pieces of art that you can find on their astonishing website. So they have a wider collection that goes from Auguste Perret and all the others that nowadays are very well known, like Moto or Moto Proprio, Theo de Meyer, Dorzon, many guests. So Google them, check them out, and I'm sure you will be astonished. And Guillaume came to us saying that he wants to present to us Carlos Gonzalvo Salas, who is going to finish his PhD, which has to deal somehow with the history of the first generation of the Spanish nuclear power plants, and they are going to do something together for the DESPLANS. And so we are very curious to listen to you guys. I hope I was not too long. And just very welcome, and thank you very much for your contribution to this series of lectures. So it's on you.
Thank you, Luca, for the introduction and the nice words. I will share my screen now. Can you see it?
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So you made the introduction, so maybe it's good for you. Just maybe very short words on my experience, because it was a long time ago. 2010, I finished my studies with Eric Lapierre and Jacques Lucan in Marne-la-Vallée in France. And since then, I've been working in Sweden. And as you said, we started deploying in 2015. So I will start and then I will give the words to Carlos. As an introduction, Florian Denbourg spoke about fake it until you make it, which has become a motto of entrepreneurs, a kind of iconic motto. And another thing of our time is fake news. I know it's a bit easy and it's a very connoted image, but still behind this fake icon coming from the state as well, the interesting things about fake news is that a large number of people truly believe in fake news. They truly believe they are authentic. And this phenomenon is emphasized by algorithm that tends to build islands of believers, making the society becoming an archipelago of believers, and that can hardly discuss with one another. And in that world we're living in, the fabric of icons becomes quite difficult, since people have difficulty to share the same vision of the world. And that happens to architects. This image from Swiss visualization office Connex shows the Pearl Museum by Valerio Olgiati in the Red Square in Moscow, hiding the St. Basil Cathedral. So this icon of architects replacing the church, the museum of our time becoming the icon, but this tribute showing an auto-referential icon among architects shows to me the risk of people between groups of believers and highlighting the difficulty of creating icons for everyone that could share a common vision of icons. And this is not only true among architects, it's facing all parts of society and deciders, companies, institutions, cities, in the way they want to build their icons. They want to build a museum as an icon of a city. This is an image of the Nobel Center competition in Stockholm that David Chipperfield won. And it's this idea that we will fabric icons with the same process, with the same internationally renowned architects, and that it's this fabric of fake icons, to me, that we are dealing with today. And the signature of the star architect is supposed to guarantee the authenticity of the work. But the process of the fabric of those icons, the making of those icons, is kind of fake to me. And this question of certifying the authenticity of the work has always been a concern of authors, of curators, of collectors, and certificates and signature are a tool to do so, to authentify the authenticity. I found this rather naive certificate from Eero Saarinen, the Finnish and American architect, writing to his wife. And it's a famous love relationship between them. She was a critic of art and architecture. And beyond this question of the signature, of the stamp, of the question of trust and perception of the issuer and the receiver, Aline Bergstein Saarinen She wrote about this question of fake and authentic, and so I would like to read a quote from her. She wrote that the most tantalizing question of all, if a fake is so expert, then even after the most thorough and trustworthy examination, its authenticity is still open to doubt. Is it or is it not a satisfactory work of art, as if it were unequivocally genuine? So I think it's a very actual question in a world where fake and authentics are mixing permanently. It actually questions a very thin line between those two concepts that might be perceived as very opposite, but they tend to be very close or even blur at some time. So in this question of authentifying the works, of the authenticity of works in our domain, because we print the drawings, we edit, we publish, it comes not from nowhere. We do it with modern tools, but the etching on copper plates, this is an etch called Etche Homo by Jean-Pierre Norblin de la Gourdaine. He has a very French name, which is at the National Museum of Warsaw. It questions the authenticity of the plate or of the copies. Aren't they at the same level of authenticity, even though there is a plate that gives the etching? So, well, of course, the edition process we are dealing with is facing the same questions, because we sometimes go into archives of Cité de l'Architecture, of ArcDes in Stockholm, and we pick up some original drawings, or not original copies, and then we find them, we republish, and it will be a bit dishonest to not say it's a re-edition and it's a copy. This is the example of Auguste Perret facade and section of Immeuble Franklin in Paris, which we edit. And we publish limited edition with the right of Cité de l'Architecture and the jurist representing the architect, the right of the architect. So we don't pretend it's an authentic document. But just as for the etching or the lithograph, when, and even more when the file comes from a computer of Fala, for example, the line between the both concepts gets very blurred. And above all that, I will say that it's relatively technical questions, technically concerns that are important. But one could say that at Desplans, we hijack the purpose of an architecture drawing to make it a decorative object. We are fake to architecture. We are dishonest to the fabric, to the making of architecture. Yeah, it's kind of true. But we hope that the authenticity in our ambition to diffuse ideas of architecture, and is there a better medium than drawings to take a step back on architecture? I believe it is a very strong medium to speak about architecture. So especially in the flow of fascinating photographies of built buildings that tends to put people in a state of sideration on social medias, you're screening down, looking at so many nice photographies of buildings. I think it's very powerful communication to a medium in a noble way. And the other aspect of our authenticity, I would hope so, is our genuine selection as curators of works from architects. We try to enlighten the work of architects. And that's something I would like to present in with a few drawings, like this one of Asplund, drawing as a facade of Stockholm's library. And next to it is the one on the left is the one we published from ArcDes, and the one on the right comes from MoMA. And the one on the right is much more accurate to the building that has been built. The one on the left has more elements of decoration, of classical ornamentation, and it informs a bit at this time when the building was made and conceived between 1918 and 1927. The shift in the look the value we were giving to classical. Some call it Scandinavian classical, Nordic classical, but no matter what the name, the shift between these two periods of architect, and where the drawing as a tool is used to realize, well, are we doing something fake to our time? Is it getting more authentic to erase some elements of the narrative of the facade? So I find this example quite informing on the questions. And of course, as you said, we publish Theo de Meyer works, and with this fantastic Zettel masterpiece, which is a non-marble sofa. And I find the drawings that we publish good informative and drawings on the process and on the question of irony in the process, because this drawing, we called it, Theo de Meyer said, a roof as a table as a roof, which he did with a graphic designer called Arthur Hagemann. I am sorry for the pronunciation. It's a constellation of objects where you can see the sofa sharing the same irony in the thinking and in the making. One could stack tables as legs and a tabletop, house as column and a roof, and this representation question, and you see what it leads to in the materialization of the Zettel masterpiece. Another example, I hope I'm not too long. So another example is this project from Fala, a small house with a monumental shower, which they themselves describe as a monumental object for non-monumental program, very banal program, and picking up of intern elements, a shower, to bring it to a tall tower, standing paradoxical independence, I'm quoting Fala Atelier, and refusing to be serious, making a courageous statement. So this idea that irony is a very powerful conceptual tool again, and it's also a mental health tool, I will say, for all people, no matter if they are architects or not. And at the end of their website, Fala writes, gloriously repeating. It's kind of self-distance that I appreciate with their work. Well, you might find it weird connection, but I still see a chimney. And right now, in trying to communicate on the way we work at Desplans, work with Carlos on publishing some drawings from the modernist Spanish architect called Antonio Bonet. And so we speak about selection and what we're going to show, like very restrictive selection of drawings. It's all the work. We pick up like 3 drawings, and there are thousands, and it's making choice. It's not like an easy process to do so, but still, we spoke about this is a PhD project. Is working on nuclear power point, and I thought, what is more iconic than a chimney of a nuclear power point? So I wanted to let him speak very specifically of this idea of icon and nuclear power point. So I let him speak now.
So thank you very much. Can you hear me properly now? Can you hear me now? Okay, perfect. So thank you very much, Guillaume, for the introduction and your words. As a continuation of this topic about the chimneys and icons, we will focus on the architecture of the biggest chimneys ever built in history. As we can see here, the Clos chimneys made in France for nuclear power plants. The most relevant point between chimneys as in the past and this one is the change of scale and significant. These huge concrete structures have become the authentic icons of the last century, where technology and materials are totally exposed. Opposite that, what people think about nuclear power plants, they are not only structures to generate electric power, but also a huge or monumental structure or icons in the rural landscape that people easily recognize in this distance. Now, if we focus in the left image, Parent questioned the connection between supposed rural life and the new artificial structure that electric power companies erected with the nuclear power plants. So we have to think, or we have to ask, what is the new rural identity? This topic that Parent explored in the 70s, now it's really actual topic, because no matter if you are pro-nuclear or not, but rural identity is a large file of perspective, because these structures became an authentic icon since the moment they were built, because of the monumental scale and massive perception. Next slide, please, John. Yeah, thank you. Nuclear power plants or even electric tower are authentic architecture as an icon, just like the Arc of Triumph or Eiffel Tower in Paris. This comparison between this kind of monumental structures can be illustrated by these two similar domestic scenes that we are sharing now. Fessenheim nuclear power plant in the left, with a huge reactor and taller electric towers, and the Bestecchi apartment by Le Corbusier in the right, where we can see above the limit, we can see the monumental iconic constructions. This image by Le Corbusier emphasizes this iconic status. On contrary of the Triumph Tower Arc or the chimneys, the nuclear power plants are relevant as an icon because they can symbolize negative values. As for example, the history, they reconnect or they illustrate, for example, the history as Hiroshima, for example, attack, or for example, another Fukushima accident. But now in this way, Parent transformed a taboo topic as the nuclear power into a popular topic, for example, calling them totem. For example, here, as we can see in this book, the nuclear power plant or even the chimneys, now they are called as a totem structure in the landscape. With this information, now we can consider a nuclear power plant as a totem. As consequence, they take part of the new identity of the name of the place it arises. Next, please. During this presentation, we have mentioned irony as a tool of project, bringing light and opening new experiences. In this way, irony can be also considered as a good strategy to open people's minds about where they are looking at. In the world of art, we can find many experiences about the meaning transformation using the irony from the cuttings in industry, for example, with Mataclark structures, or for example, Robert Smithson in the New Jersey walking, or for example, Bern and Hila Berter structure and photographies. Using the irony, we can compare these two images from our new vision. For example, during the last year, we participate in this magazine issue with that it's called Nuclear Aesthetic. For example, in these topics or in this context, we don't see only radioactive materials or battle wars in these photographies, but also architectural spaces that can be compared with the ancient architecture. Actually, and just to conclude this presentation, irony can be also used as an abstraction process that we have always to keep asking the real meaning of what we are asking, the real meaning of what do we have in front of us. Removing the negative perception of nuclear building, for example, we can discover similarities between nuclear spaces as we have in the left, or for example, big or the great history architecture building as Agrippa Pantheon in the right, for example. So here, in this way, authenticity of buildings or authenticity of architecture and art can be discovered once this ironic process has been implemented. So, Guillaume, if you want to conclude the presentation. Guillaume, sorry.
You
are unmuted.
You're muted, yeah.
Yeah. Guillaume, do you want to conclude something? So okay, no worries. So this lecture can be concluded.
Yeah, no, sorry, I found it.
Yeah, yeah. Sorry.
Or to make it a mess. I'm sorry we were a bit long, maybe, but thank you very much, Carlos, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope we shared our ways of doing, hopefully authentically.
No, we absolutely enjoy it. So we thank you both, guys. I mean, we think it's true. I mean, there's nothing more iconic than, unfortunately, such a ugly mushroom, let's say, but this ugly mushroom, all of a sudden, it can be also very beautiful from other perspectives. So to me, what was beautiful when you show this rural village, let's say, this kind of bucolic landscape, looking at the mushroom was all of a sudden like the mushroom is kind of disappearing. And I think it was a very beautiful selection, let's say, and I'm very much intrigued, and I want to discover more about your work, Carlos. And I think it's the reason why we called Guillaume to talk. It's really about that. So we think it's strongly important to give voices, let's say, to young practice and young architects, as we all are. And we think it's incredibly beautiful what you are doing with this plan. And I thank you for taking time to share with us your work again. So we thank
you, Luca, and thank you for the invitation, because we are not a practice of architecture, and I think it's nice that you give a voice to different actors, and thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.
So now we will move on with Max OTTO ZITZELBERGer. Is it right? Did I pronounce it correctly? Okay. And he's a young architect from Germany. He teaches since 2019 at Kaiserslautern. And we actually do love a lot of things about him. We do love how he expresses architectural thinking throughout his marvelous, colorful drawings. And we do love how his architecture seems to pop up from one of his daughter's books. And we do love even more to see how the architectural output seems to be a drawing more than a drawing itself. So we are really curious to listen to you.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm very happy to be part of it, and Stefan, Luca, and for organizing all these very impressive offices. And thank you also, Lucia and Guillaume and Carlos, for your impressive lectures. Yes, I enjoyed it very much. So I will now share my screen here. Do you see my screen? It's
Yes.
okay, thank you. I here. So this was the end. Okay, and so I start with a picture from a very famous typology. You all know that house in the Western City, which is a very simple house, which is a very banal house with a gable roof in the most cases. And in front of this there's a kind of shield wall. It's very simple, and this wall is a symbol. It's a gesture, and it's also a table for symbols, for brands, for writing, for shields, I don't know. And perhaps this typology is the perfect typology for capitalism. But we all know that it's you can find this kind of typology in the whole history of architecture. You find it in the basilica, you find it in the palazzi, in the churches of the Renaissance. You can also find it here in Bavaria in these so-called Insalzach houses that were normal houses with gable roofs and then a very nice facade in front. So perhaps it's a phenomenon which is very human to say you always want to be a little bit more than you are, a little bit better than you are, a little bit nicer than you are. So it's not so fake is perhaps something which is, so we think always fake is something which is a total fake, which is wrong through and through, but it's a little bit of fake. So it's the house behind the wall perhaps is not so bad, but it's not so good like the facade in front of it. So it's a kind of fake, and it's also a good fake. And we also think that fake is something which is wrong, which is unacceptable. But I think that is a very naive thinking of what is fake. So everything is fake, and everything is also authentic. That is something which we heard also in other lectures, and this is a very important information, I think. Yes, this is this image for fake, and my image for authentic. I think I will also say something especially to the German architecture situation. It's a very special situation, you know that, and German architects are very special. Yeah, and so I want to show a very German thing. It's, I think it's German in several respects. So it's a kind of railway model, and it shows a typical situation you can find here. So architecture from the 70s, here for a holiday, where you can make holidays. The entrance situation, so it's a kind of barrack. The history of barracks is not so is not so famous here in Germany, but the barrack is perhaps a kind of this primitive hut It's a kind of barn, it's a kind of house, it's a kind of, so it's perhaps the house of the houses. So like this idea of primitive huts. And it's also a very German situation because the Germans love to build these railway models. And this is also this type behind the shield wall of the Western houses. It's this normal house, this banal house, which is also a very good house. It has a rhythm, it has a structure, it's built very fast, and it's also, it's not the best of the best, but it's okay. And this is the kind of type behind this wall, behind this fake, perhaps. And yes, this is this example for authentic. And my example for iconic is, I think it speaks for itself. So it's a US barn, from nowadays made with steel. So in former times it was made with wood and wood facade, and this is steel now. It's the same house. You all know the nice projects from Stanley Tigerman and all this postmodern architects, which reflected this kind of architecture, this kind of banal houses, and this kind of iconic houses, this perfect, so like a church, like a basilica, but with cheap materials. And but it seems to, it's so easy to make iconic buildings. That's fascinating, I think. Yes, and then what is this kind of ironic? And you all then know these famous projects from Robert Venturi and Dennis Scott Brown, and the ideas from them. And you all also know the famous drawing, I'm a Monument, this box, kind of box, and with the shield on top of the box with this writing, I'm a monument. And you also know the idea of contradiction. I think you feel here better than in the Western house, in the Western city house, that the house behind the wall doesn't really fit to the wall anymore. It's really a house which is, you think these are two projects. There's the wall and there's the house, but they combined it. And in this contradiction, there's there's a lot of power, that the parts don't fit together very good. And so the try to connect all is perhaps a project like this we did for a regional butcher here. So it's ironic because I don't eat meat anymore, but he tries to make to have short ways from the barn to the butcher's house, and just regional products. And also, I don't know if it's good or bad. It is like it is, and it's so I'm very interested in these banal types of buildings, in these barns, in these commercial halls, in these barracks, ugly suburban buildings. And so the context of this situation, it's very nice, it's very beautiful. It's a typical Bavarian situation with church and old houses, but the people who act there normally don't build with architects. They build houses which they can buy ready, which they can buy ready, which where you can find trapezoidal sheets on the roof, this metal kind of construction, which is the most cheap roof you can do. And you have this photovoltaic on the roof, and you have these ugly doors and these plastic windows and these roller blind boxes on top of the windows where you can close them, and you have these banal things all over the house, and then they always they also act with writing and with symbol. So so the Western city type is perfect for this, because you need a banal house which should be cheap, very cheap, because they don't want to invest a lot of money for architecture. And then but they want to show themselves. Yes, they want to sell something. So the Western city type is perhaps perfect for this. And he also needs a garage, because there's he can't imagine a world without cars and without meat. And so he needs his hall to make his products, his sausages and so on. And he also needs a hall for his cars. It's a temple for the cars. And it's the different situation to the Western city is that we don't have house next to the house next to the house. It's like so they turn to each other, and there's a place between the houses with a tree, and it's something like a typical rural situation. So this is the break. Also, this is also the different to this morphology of the Western city structure. And this is the yeah, it's a kind of pragmatic architecture, which is made a little bit more noble than it is. And it's a try to deal with the banal elements and to organize them in a way that it's perhaps a kind of architecture. I don't know. It's up to you. And what we also do, what I do with my students, is to think about wood construction. So when you look a lot of this kind of timber architecture from Germany, it's always a little bit boring. Yes, this is a problem in Germany, because German architects are very boring. And what I try is a kind of criticism of this. And it's also interesting to look at the reactions of German architects looking at these drawings, at these buildings, which I do, which there's color, because German architects hate color. There's ornament, because they hate ornament. There is, I don't know, this gamey things, this a lot of things put together, and it's a kind of anti-German architecture. It is because of the history of the Germans. I think something German architects always want to be tidy and serious and strictly and stringent, so this kind of architecture tries to be the opposite of that. And it's interesting because when you look at the timber construction, you always have this this not nice thing of the German industry standards. So you have, for example, when you take a column of wood on the floor, you have to put it up on a steel feet because of the water. Yes, and this is something you have to do when you build. And it's interesting because the most architects try to make a kind of architecture where you don't see all these parts you have to build on, these steel parts. So wood construction is you need a lot of steel for wood construction. You need a lot of plastic for wood construction. You need a lot of other materials to build in wood when you build with wood in Germany. And there you have to think about all these standards, these DIN norms. And so we tried to give them the chance, all these parts normally which are hidden, which shouldn't be seen, which are not nice, and we tried to give them the chance to get architecture, just with color. And it's a kind, also a new kind of column order. So the old column order, the base of the column was wider than the base than the column itself, and now the new base is this steel feet, which is thinner. So you have the opposite of the old orders, and it's a kind of new order. You have always these tectonical things. This also are here. This. The base, the column, the top of the column, it's like a metal sheet, because you have to protect the wood on the top because of the water. And then you have like a new kind of column order. And we also try to deal with these banal elements and to make architecture from them. Yes, this is what I do with the students. And this is a small project we did for an old church from the 70s with a concrete church. Concrete churches in Germany are empty. You know that problem. And they now try to rebuild these houses to make them smaller, to put in other functions. And this was a project we did like this. And here this is a design for a confessional. So the pastor is going in the middle. Yeah, he's standing, and on the side you're kneeling. You know this famous reference from Hans Hollein in Wien, from the Reti shop where they sold I don't know the English word Kerzengeschäft Reti, and it's the ironic thing of column, because it's the column which is not there. It's the column is in form of a hole, and you can go through the column. So it's the opposite of it, and it's just the form of the column, but it's not the column anymore. And I love these ironic ideas of the postmodernism. I think our time, we can just we need irony to deal with it, because I think this is German try to be serious, to be tidy. I think this is not the right reaction to this world. It's so there this contradictous situation, and you need another answer for it, also another architectonical answer. And this is my try to do that. And yes, and now this is also a project. It's just shows my try to be anti-German, to be not too tidy and not too serious. And this is also, it shows just one half of it. The other half, there you see also a kind of shield wall like the Western cities. And yes, I want to end with this ironic collage, which I did last year in my office. Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure really to listen to you, and I mean, we see why we invite you. So of course all those themes are contained into your presentation and your works. And I want to point it out that after the Dada movement, you invented the Baba movement. So it's kind of banal baroque. I think it's really beautiful. I mean, you came out with these two words that are somehow very connected in a way to your work. And it was just beautiful to listen to you. And I think it's in contraposition with Carlos' drawings about the nuclear power plants. You showed us how even a simple US barn, it can be an icon itself. So I like to counterpose, let's say, those two iconic images, which are in fact both of them iconic. And I just really want to underline the beauty and the intelligence of your work, even if the presentation was such a sharp and humble presentation. But in fact, I think you're brilliant, to be honest. I mean, I love it. So thanks a million. No, I just check out Max Otto's works because it's of course much more vast than this presentation, and I am sure you will be happy to have a look at it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be part of it, and with all these famous and nice offices. So I know Lucia's work and Guillaume's and Carlos' work from the internet, and I also love it. And also your work, Luca and Steph. It's fascinating, and it's yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So I mean, we just close this meeting, inviting you to the next session, which is going to happen this Monday, and we will have as a guest Fala Atelier from Portugal, and then Haring and Vaud from Belgium, and LUCIA and Padmanabhan from Zurich, Switzerland. So if you want to have the pleasure to join us, we will be very happy, and we thank you again, the four of you guys, for spending your time with us. And we say hello to everyone. And again, it was a pleasure.
Bye, guys.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank
Ciao.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.